welcome Professor Turfe. May Allah bless you. Welcome to the podium.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سماحة العلامة السيد مصطفى الكزويني، أيها الأخوة والأخوات، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. This is an outline of my book. As you can see, a number of chapters. I'm not going to be covering all the chapters, but I just want to bring to your attention, just for example, like infallibility in chapter 8, just to show you the depth of what I wrote about. I break it down into pragmatic infallibility and cognitive infallibility. And the pragmatic infallibility deals with ma'soom, sinless, and sirat al-mustaqim, the straight path. And the cognitive infallibility deals with the imamate of inner guidance and inner knowledge. So I'll be covering some of these, and the most important one next over. In any book, just like a doctoral dissertation, you write a hypothesis, and then you try to prove or disprove what's a null hypothesis. You try to prove it or you try to disprove it. And the hypothesis that I wrote that is the basis of my book is the right of succession to lead the Islamic Ummah was declared and demanded by Prophet Muhammad to be Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib and the Imamate of Ahl al-Bayt. The thing that sparked me from the Quran in order to pursue that hypothesis was the verse in the Quran says, وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ وَلَا تَكْتُمُوا الْحَقَّ وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ صَدَقَ اللَّهُ الْعَظِيمُ. You cannot cover truth with falsehood, nor can you conceal the truth when you know what it is. You know, many scholars have written, Shia scholars have written on this subject. Most of it's from the Shia standpoint, although they would intersperse some of the Sunni hadith, but it still be skewed toward the Shia perspective. So the Sunni brethren who are going to read books written by Shia scholars are not going to be convinced. They have their own ideology as to who's the rightful successor. So for the purposes of this book, I said, well, I'm going to write this book as if I am a Sunni, not a Shia. As I am a Sunni, not a Shia. And then I will go through the Sunni sources to prove or disprove. So one of the things I did was to go get, you know, the hadiths, actually 38 volumes of the Kutub al-Sitta, which is Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Abu Dawood, Nasa'i, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah. 38 volumes, over 10,000 pages. It would be in Arabic and English. And I had authorization from Dar es Salaam, which is based in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And the English translation was done by them. Now, interestingly, this is a quote from Dar es Salaam, who says, while in the past companies have marketed software for computers that left the English readers with the impression that they contained the narrations of all these books, the truth is that these programs and collections contain only some of the narrations, being taken from other collections, like translations of Mishkat al-Masabih, for example. Additionally, the advent of the internet and the circulation of these narrations spawned in these poorly translated software compilations, which were improperly referenced, be it the numbering system used or the actual source text from which they were portrayed to be derived, has led to a great deal of confusion among the English readers. And I notice too when I go through some of the Shia scholar books, and they will say, well, Sahih Bukhari, volume 1, hadith 6,256. It can't be. Volume 1 goes to less than 1,000 hadiths. So the 62,056 may be the 5th or the 6th volume. So I guarded very, very closely, and I would tell you, it took me about 6 months to develop the tables and the constructs. About 6 months, because I had to go read through this, and then I would tell you it's very overwhelming as to what I found. For example, we start, and I want to get really into the succession. This is what the hypothesis, but the book contains other things like the imamate and what are the characteristics of the imamate and so forth and so forth. But here we know that the Prophet Muhammad's appointment of Imam Ali was rejected. Abu Bakr nominated Umar and elected by Shura Council. Okay? Then Umar was nominated and appointed by Abu Bakr. Uthman nominated Umar and appointed by Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. Then Imam Ali reclaims his right to the Khalifa. Well, if Nabi Muhammad cannot appoint, remember I'm writing this as a Sunni now. If Nabi Muhammad's appointment of Imam Ali, which is a divine appointment, is not accepted, then how could Abu Bakr be appointing Umar, for example? You see, so these are the things that went into my mind, that there is a contradiction, okay? And even on this note here, when I researched, it's a Sahih Bukhari, it's volume 5. In fact, I didn't even include this in my book. I toned down, it was so overwhelming of the support of the Sunni sources for Imam Ali, I toned it down. I'm trying to disprove it as a Sunni, not to prove it. And so, for example, what I left out, in Sahih Bukhari, volume 5, book 64, hadith 42, 40, 42, 41, Abu Bakr admits to Imam Ali that he was wrong in not consulting with him regarding the voting for the successorship after Prophet Muhammad. And also Sahih Bukhari, volume 8, book 86, hadith 6830, narrated by Ibn Abbas, Umar is now speaking. Umar says, remember that whoever gives the bay'ah, the pledge, to anybody among you without consulting the other Muslims, neither that person Imam Ali and the other members were not consulted for this voting, or it's null and void. I said, could this really be true? So, in order to prove or disprove, as a Sunni, I have to establish first, what are the Sunni criteria for selecting a caliph? So the Sunni says, well, they have Majlis al-Ashura, which is the consultative council, or nomination by the previous caliph, forceful seizure of power, or ijma, consensus of men of power and position. But you need the criteria, the prerequisites that go to selecting the caliph. So according to the Sunni, the prerequisites are what? He must be a Muslim. He must be a man. He must be knowledgeable in Islam and be able to make independent decisions if necessary. He must be just, have good morals, and be trustworthy. He must be physically able, spiritually brave, and helpful to protect the ummah against its enemies. He must be politically, militarily, and administratively experienced. He must be from the tribe of Quraysh. Well, if you take 1, 2, and 7, well, that can really, there could be hundreds of people during the Prophet's time that are really satisfied to be a man, a Muslim from the tribe of Quraysh. But as you will see as we go further, there is a difference when it comes to who would be the successor as being a Muslim, a man, and from the tribe of Quraysh. The most reliable hadiths accepted by the Shias are al-Kafi, Shaykh al-Kulaini. And then, of course, you have Shaykh al-Saduq, you have al-Tusi, you have al-Amali, you have Majlisi, you have Tabarsi. All of these are Persians, with the exception of Amali from Mashkara, South Lebanon. He's an Arab. So all of these are Persian, or it's important to understand that, because that was really the center of knowledge during that time, and maybe even today. But they were all Persians except Ahmadi. Now, as far as the Sunni hadith, as I said, you have Bukhari, Muslim, Ibn Majah, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, and Nasa'i. All Persians. Did you know that? They're all Iranians. They are all Iranians. Even, you know, Abu Hanifa was Iranian, even though he lived in Kufa. Right, he was Iranian. Okay, but let's look at the number of hadiths. Bukhari collected 7,000 to 9,000 out of what? Out of 600,000 that he had hadiths, and he ended up picking 7,000 to 9,000. Sahih Muslim had what? 500,000. He collects between 7,000 and 12,000. Ibn Majah 4,300 hadith. Abu Dawud 5,300 hadith. Tirmidhi 4,000 and Nasa'i 5,800. Now let's look at these. And a number of hadiths collected by the narrators. Abu Hurairah, of course, you know when he was maybe shining the shoes of Muawiyah in his palace at the time, he probably, but anyway, it was 5,374 he collected. Well, he had some good hadiths, don't get me wrong, but there are some that were manipulated. And then you have the other, but what's important is Aisha. She has 2,210 hadiths that she narrated in Kutub al-Sitta, in the 6 books. These are the most reliable books. The Sunnis, they live and die by it. These are the, we can't question them. These are the books. And in their 2,210 are narrated by Aisha. Well, her father, who's Caliph, has only 142 narrated. My goodness. And then Umar ibn Khattab, 537. Ali ibn Abi Talib, 536. Uthman, 146. The 4 of them is 1,361 hadiths. About half of what Aisha herself was narrating. So there's a problem. I said to myself, wow, what happened to the other hadith? And Fatima, only 1 in Sahih Bukhari. Now, other notable Sunni collections of hadith, now I'm not going to go through, but you can see there's a number, and I've used these in support of Kutub al-Sitta. So I would also use, in fact, for every Shia hadith I use in the book, I use probably 10 Sunni hadiths. And for every 10 Sunni hadiths, 9 are from Kutub al-Sitta, the 6 reliable books. Okay? So this following, this is a snapshot. In my text, I include even more of proofs, but I'll just give you a snapshot. These are selected hadiths on Ahl al-Bayt from Kutub al-Sitta, but I had to include an Arab. So I put Musnad Ahmed ibn Hanbal. I couldn't put Abu Hanifa, he's Persian, and I couldn't put a Shafi'i because he's skewed to love Ahl al-Bayt and Imam Ali. So it was between Malik and Ahmed ibn Hanbal. Since he has 20 volumes, I went through about 6 of them. So I was able also to jot down what his views were. Well, let's look at that. And by the way, S is for Sahih, authentic. H is for Hasan, good or fair. D is for the 8th week. I didn't put any Mawdu in there, but these are the things that you would find through these Kutub al-Sitta. When they have the hadith, how do they rate it? Okay? Now keep in mind, and when you say Sahih, authentic, that means every word, every character, every syllable, every comma, every period, every quotation mark is undeniably authentic. You can't. Now, then I say to myself, well, when I looked at Kulayni al-Kafi, who was present during Imam al-Mahdi's Ghaibat al-Zuhra, the minor occultation, with the 4 deputies, if the one died, the next one took over, the next one, and the 4th one, he collected the hadith from them, and yet in his preamble he says, I can't be sure if they're all authentic. If any hadith I collected conflicts with the verse in the Quran, except the verse in the Quran, not the hadith I collected. But when you come to Bukhari, Muslim, no matter what you have, and even I found conflicting between the two on the same subject. I found them conflict, but again, I toned it down to maybe a couple because I don't want to bring the multitude of them where they conflicted. Okay, so that means, well, why would they be sahih? But let's look at the hadith. Blessings on Muhammad and his household. You find this in the Quran in various verses. Well, let's see what the Sahih Bukhari and the rest of them say. Go right through them. Bukhari, Muslim, Ibn Majah, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, and Sa'id, Alhamdulillah. All are S, all Sahih. They all say that that particular blessing on Muhammad and his household is authentic. Whoever obeys me, Muhammad, obeys Allah, and whoever disobeys me, disobeys Allah. It's in the Quran. Again, look through this, sahih, 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 all the way through. It's amazing. On Thaqalain, the Quran and Ahl al-Bayt. Again, we find Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, and Nasai, Ahmed and Hanbal. All agree. To 12 caliphs are all from Quraysh. Again, you see all the sahih. The kisa, the cloak of Ahl al-Bayt. Again, you see that. You just came out of having Ashura. And Imam Hussein's dhikr. You know, when you try to analyze something and you have the juxtaposition side by side, you need to really get deep into the matter. Some people say the hadith, the cause of Hussein was for freedom, or is against oppression, against tyranny. Well, I added it's against compromise, your values of Islam, or it's complacency. But what is the one that inculcates all of those? What was he doing? What did Imam Hussein do? Wasn't out there about oppression and that, because you see, he lives today, he dies tomorrow. What he did is he wanted to portray the dhikr. The dhikr. And what is the dhikr? Like he said. You remember when he's on the field of Karbala, how was he dressed? When he addresses his enemy, what was his apparel? He had the cloak, the robe, the kisah of Nabi Muhammad, and his turban of Nabi Muhammad. And in the hand he had the Quran, personal copy of Nabi Muhammad's personal copy of the Quran. And so as he stood by them, he had the dhikr. He had the dhikr of the cloak. The kisah, even Aisha, Bukhari, Muslim, she narrates that Nabi Muhammad left his household and he was wearing his cloak, and then he saw Hassan, Hussein, Imam Ali, and Fatima, put him in, and according to Aisha, he said, this is my Ahl al-Bayt. And the Quran is a dhikr. You know the Quran, and you have a Tanzil, a Furqan, a Kitab, but all come under what we call the dhikr, a reminder. The Quran is a reminder, it's a dhikr. So when he's holding Ali's azkar in his hand, and he's wrapping them with the kisah, the dhikr, and they shot the arrows into that, and they shot the arrows into the baby's neck. So it was the dhikr, the reminder for them that look what you are doing. You are now attacking the very sanctity of Islam. So just keep that in mind. If we go to the next one, oh Lord, these are my Muhammad, my family members, Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein. Again, you see, it's in Muslim, Ibn Majah. You know, not always that all six would record these, but you will see where most of them do. The Prophet says, who makes her Fatima angry, makes me angry. Look, I even left out Muslim, Sahih Muslim, which is recorded in there. I didn't want to overwhelm this. I wanted to just tone it down. Because I'm working towards something called unity between Sunnis and Shias, as you will see later. Then we have Umar denied Prophet's request for a pen and writing paper. It's in Bukhari and Muslim. Now again, Shias too much on this pen and paper. The Prophet didn't die till 3 days later. What prevented Umar ibn Khattab from coming the next day? He doesn't need an invitation. He's the father-in-law. Why didn't he come the next day? What prevented him? And then he could have brought the pen and paper. Okay? And even on that line, when we talk about, even in the earlier slide where I showed the Khalifas, how they 1, 2, 3, I ask you, if your father-in-law or your son-in-law passed away, are you going to you're going to be accepting people that come for the bereavement and give you their condolences? Or are you going to go dart off and rush off to a place where you're going to hold an election like they did at Saqifa? So Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman darted off. They said, well, Kanu Khayfain, they were afraid that the Muhajirin and the Ansar, Aus al-Khazraj, Medina, were going to usurp and take the Khalifa away, so they had to protect. Irrespective, they were mourning too. So they went out, even though Abu Bakr is the father-in-law to the Nabi, Umar is the father-in-law to the Nabi. And according to the Sunnis, Uthman is the son-in-law, having married two of the Nabi's daughters, according to this Sunni tradition. So why weren't they waiting 3 days and then go off for your election? Do you see, this is what you need to do when you're analyzing, is come further into it, to probe into it. So this is a contradiction of what you're supposed to do if your loved one dies. You're supposed to stay and go, no matter what, you'll go create an election. Okay. So, okay. Now on this one, you, Ali, are to me, Muhammad, as Aaron was to Moses, but there will be no prophet after me. Right? Again, Bukhari, Muslim, so forth. Okay? Now, here was the cliffhanger. I, Muhammad, in the city of the knowledge, and House of Wisdom, Ali's gate, Ani Madinat Ilm Ali Bab. Only Tirmidhi has this. And he listed as da'if. They listed as da'if, weak. But I will show you in a forthcoming slide, there are many Sunni scholars say, no, it's sahih. They manipulated and translated it differently, and they came up with a rating differently. Ali as Mawla after Prophet Muhammad. Again, Ibn Majah, Tirmidhi, Ahmad Hanbal, Nasa'i, authentic. Loving Ali is a sign of belief, and hating Ali is a sign of hypocrisy. You can see again, Sahih, H for Hassan, or Tirmidhi. My Lord ordered me, Muhammad, that nobody can discharge my duty except myself or Ali. Again, Ibn Majah, or Tirmidhi, of course, it's fair, it's Hassan, it's not for them authentic, still. Karam Allahu wajha, may Allah bless his face, the Imam of Imam Ali, and Nasa'i and Ahmed ibn Hanbal. Umar said, you, Ali, had become my leader, my Mawla, and the leader of every faithful Muslim. This is in Ahmed ibn Hanbal. Umar said, our best judge is Ali. Comes in Bukhari. Remember I gave you the 7 criteria? One is just. Okay, remember the 7 criteria, because it permeates through all of these. So Bukhari, you have that. Then the Imam al-Mahdi from Prophet Muhammad's Ahlul Bayt, or the quotation of Imam al-Mahdi. Okay. Here are where I said it was the eighth in the city of knowledge and Ali is its gate. Here are the other Sunni references that say it is sahih, it is authentic. Okay. Now, these slides here, there was a number of things relative to obedience versus disobedience during the Prophet Muhammad's time. Quran says, O you who believe, obey Allah and obey the Apostle Muhammad, and do not render null your deeds. O you who believe, raise not your voices above the voice of the Prophet, and speak not loud unto him as speak aloud some of you to the other, lest all your good deeds become null while you perceive not. Verily, those who oppose Allah and his Apostle Muhammad shall be humiliated as were humiliated those before them. Now, and you find this also in all of the Kutub al-Sitta, the Sahih. Okay? Now, when Abu Bakr and Umar refused Fatima her inheritance, Fadak and part of Khaybar, that was ordered by Prophet Muhammad, was this not disobedience? Remember, you have to, no matter, even if he's senile, you have to obey him. You cannot jab, you cannot argue with the Prophet, or you can't argue against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Umar refused to bring pen and paper requested by Prophet Muhammad, was this not disobedience? When Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman were arguing with the Prophet about serving under General Osama, an 18-year-old kid at the time, he said, well, why do we have to serve under an 18-year-old kid? You know, we're bigger and older than him, and this, and all these types of things. Now, keep in mind the importance of this. A lot of Sunnis will claim that Abu Bakr should be the first caliph because he was 59 years old and Imam Ali was 32. Even though Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, who becomes caliph later, is 35 years old. But then, of course, he's assassinated. Less than 3 years serving because he returned Fadak to Ahlul Bayt and he stopped the cursing of Imam Ali on the Mumbar in the mosque. And by him doing that, he passed judgment on his great-grandfather, Umar ibn Khattab, and passed judgment on Abu Bakr. And he was a good guy, a good caliph, Umar ibn Aziz. Okay, so even more importantly, when Abu Bakr became caliph, he went to General Usama. He says, please, implore upon you, could you release Umar from your command, your control, so he can do his administrative work for me? Could you release him? And so General Usama released Umar to be with Abu Bakr. But I ask you, who released Abu Bakr from the control of Usama? The Nabi had put them under his control. So who released him? If he went to release Umar, who would release Abu Bakr? Well, by default, he's caliph, he releases himself. But it's a point of departure. Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman rejecting Prophet Muhammad's appointment of Imam Ali as his successor. Uthman returning Marwan ibn Hakam, who had been exiled by Prophet Muhammad. Now on this note, remember, there was no such thing as Shia Islam or Sunni Islam during the Prophet. It was Ahl al-Bayt Islam, with Shias following Ahl al-Bayt, and Sunnah is to follow the lifestyle and behavior of Nabi Muhammad and the members of his Ahl al-Bayt. So Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman were all followers of Ahl al-Bayt in the beginning. So what happened? Umayyad sank in. Who's the fault for that? Here's Uthman brings his relative, and by the way, Uthman is second cousin to Imam Ali and second cousin to Nabi Muhammad. You knew that. So Uthman brings Marwan ibn Hakam, returns him from exile, because Marwan and his father were exiled forever by Nabi Muhammad. They were troublemakers. Brings him back. Now Marwan comes in while Uthman is caliph, and then goes into the treasury, does all manipulations, and further strengthens the Umayyad. So now the Umayyad Islam is counter to Ahl al-Bayt Islam. In fact, Sunni Islam didn't even wasn't even coined to somewhere, I think, in the middle 8th century, somewhere around that time, during Harun Rashid's time. They coined that to make the Khulafa al-Rashidin acceptable. Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Imam Ali. But they forgot, even the Sunni. How did they forget about Imam Hassan? He was caliph, even for 6 months. Why don't they put him as Khulafa al-Rashidin? So, that. Now, what I left out of the book, I did not include the burning of the door. Why? I checked with Al-Kafi. Al-Kafi from Al-Kulaini, who is the more authoritative than all the rest of them, has a skeleton description of it. He has a skeleton description of what took place, not really detailed. Then, of course, you get Majlisi comes to Bihar al-Anwar years later, he gets more detailed. Even though At-Tabari, who is a Sunni historian, even goes beyond Majlisi, beyond Kulaini, and gives a real complete story about the fracturing the rib, Rawah, the boy Mehsan, dragging the Imam out of the house. I mean, all these things, burning the door. I still didn't use it. You know why? Because Al-Tabari in his preamble says, all that you read in my book is what I heard and what I was told. So you can't even get verification on him. So I said, I don't really need to do it. So I'm going to leave it up. Because when my Sunni brethren read this, they're going to make no question whatsoever as to the authenticity of what was brought down. They may question the burning house. I don't need to put it in. You know, when you put, if you got 50 things that they accept, the one thing they don't accept, they kill the whole thing. So in this case, I left that out. Okay? Now, why Imam Ali is a rightful successor to Prophet Muhammad? Well, you have Imam Ali's birth at the Kaaba, and the Kaaba. You have his appointment as a young child to succeed Prophet Muhammad. You have the destruction of the idols at the Kaaba. And I bolded this one for a reason. You have Prophet Muhammad's final sermon of Khadir al-Khum, in which he appoints Imam Ali as his successor. And Imam Ali being the first to compile and codify the Quran. And why did I bold this? You know, many people in history sleep in their hero's bed. Doesn't mean they're qualified to be the leader. Okay? These all are part and parcel of what I consider, my theory, that the main reason he is a successor is because what's bolded, his destruction of the idol of the Kaaba. What happened there? When Nabi Muhammad, Imam Ali, and the group came into Mecca, they went to the Kaaba to destroy the false idols. And they saw them on the ground there, and they destroyed them. But the ones up, the bigger ones, you have to sort of either have a ladder or you have to step on somebody's shoulders. So Nabi Muhammad got on the shoulders of Imam Ali. Imam Ali, I can't hold you. It's if the whole world, the weight of the whole world's on my shoulders. Please step down. I can't hold you any longer. Imam Ali can pick two people the weight of Nabi Muhammad, each in one arm. Why? So he stepped down. Then when Imam Ali got on the shoulders of Nabi Muhammad, it's like as light as a feather, could reach for the skies. And then Imam Ali went and destroyed the idols. It's even more, the Quran comes for mankind, you and I. But what Imam Ali did there goes far beyond everything. Because the weight of Nabi Muhammad on his shoulders was by divine intervention by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He made him heavy. And he made Imam Ali get on the shoulders of Nabi Muhammad because the vehicle by which Imam Ali rises is Nabi Muhammad. Now, it gets better. What other point in history, Prophet Abraham, did not he destroy the idols? And was he not an Imam also? Was it Nabi Muhammad in the Quran? He's an Imam. Not only a Rasul, he's an Imam. Right? And Imam Ali's Imam. So you have the juxtaposition of Imam Ibrahim, Imam Ali, and Imam Muhammad in between that links the two. To me, that's etched in stone. That's golden. That's why I would put that particular one as proof beyond a doubt that he is a successor because it's divine intervention. Where the others, which are, even Khalil Khom is divine intervention, but others you might say, well, okay, he compiled the Quran, he did this, he was born in the Kaaba. But even being born in the Kaaba where nobody else was but him, even the doors wouldn't open. The gate, and it was a secret, whatever passageway that he got in, he even came with the keys. They couldn't open the locks until she comes out 3 days later. That's why you need, for females, you need to really read up about Fatima bint Asad. Now we know Khadija, they say, is the first Muslim convert for females. And then Fatima bint Asad, who is the aunt, the wife of Abi Talib, but the aunt to Imam Ali is a second. Well, if she's the second, trust me, it's got to be less than an hour after Khadija Islam. But even on the word of Islam, Nabi Muhammad was born as a Muslim. Fatima bin Asad was born. Abi Talib were born as Muslims. Remember, Ibrahim was a Muslim. Moses was a Muslim. من قبله كتاب موسى إماما ورحمة. Even the Torah is an imam. Okay, they were all Muslims. Well, Abdul Muttalib was the custodian of the Kaaba, and you can't be the custodian of it unless you're Muslim. And his children, nephews, grandsons, are all Muslims. So Fatima bin Asad, who's from that line, has to be Muslim. Abi Talib has to be Muslim. He's a protector later. So what is Nabi Muhammad? He's the first to the dhikr. First Muslim to be for the dhikr, which is the Quran. And Imam Ali is the second for the dhikr. And Khadija comes in for the dhikr and so forth, dhikr and so forth. That's an important point you need to know, because a lot of times you say, well, who's first Muslim, who's second Muslim, who's third? No, they're all Muslim. Most of them. A lot were not Muslims. Maybe Abu Lahab might have been born as a Muslim, but then he went the wrong way. Naturally, if he's a little kid and he comes from Abdul Muttalib, and then, but then he went the wrong way. He went the devilish way. He went to the dark side. So I think that this then says, then he must be the successor. So then I look, I says, well, what is the agreement among Muslims? I'm looking for unity now. As we get towards the end of the book, I'm looking for the unity. And what is the common denominator among Sunnis and Shias? One is the belief in the Tawheed, the oneness of Allah, and Prophet Muhammad is the final messenger. The belief in the angels, the prophets, the book of Allah, books and the hereafter. Belief in the core fundamentals of Islam, such as the declaration of faith, prayer, fasting, pilgrimage, and charity. The Kaaba is the Qibla, direction of prayer. They read the same Quran and basically worship the same. They have similar ways of rearing their children and burying their dead. Now, Sunnis and Shias agree on the following. The Ummah is a single community of many countries with diverse cultures and different languages. The Ummah is of numerous nationalities and tribes that share the same kind of civilization and follow the one faith of Islam. The Ummah adheres to the Sharia, divine law that does not change over time, although jurisprudence within that structure is subject to interpretation by the various schools of thought. Now just keep that in mind. A lot of people get this naskh and mansukh, the terminator and the terminator, the abrogator and the abrogator. For example, when Nabi Muhammad came on the scene in the beginning, a lot of people were intoxicated. Either they were taking drugs, maybe heroin, or they were drinking alcohol. So if the Nabi Muhammad were to come at the outset, you can't do this, he wouldn't have lasted. So what does he say? Well, in the verse, the Quran says, well, if you're en route to prayer, don't be under the influence of intoxicant. But then later, subhanahu wa ta'ala sends the next revelation, says, that's it, no intoxicants. Why? Because he brought him into the fold, and over his 23-year mission, he now has them in there. So what changed? The jurisprudence does not change. Allah doesn't make a mistake. The condition changed. The condition, and if we were going to go to the pygmy society in Africa and try to get their drink and all of this, we're not going to tell them you can't stop right away. We're going to have to work with them, but over time, the condition changes. And that's what, and the same thing when you see in Surah An-Nisa, verses 33, 34. Well, if your wife is disobedient with you, you're supposed to admonish her, refuse to share the bread, and daraba. But lightly, with some means, it's not physical. It could be a mental, emotional abuse. But then if she reconciles, that's when you do it. But if she doesn't reconcile, you get rid of her. Well, that's the way it was. And even with Jesus in the Bible, when he's lecturing his constituents, he says the church is completely obedient and submission to Christ in everything, as the wife is completely obedient and submissive to her husband in everything. But then later he says, be kind to your spouses. And the Quran, later, what does the Quran say? The Quran says that the husband and wife are the garments and libas of each other, the equality. So what changed? The condition changed. Because women during Nabi Muhammad's time, Musa's time, Moses' time, Abraham's time, Isa's time, didn't have accessibility to the courts. They didn't have no accessibility whatsoever. They were just a shot of the hair above the slave. But condition, as they became educated, so forth, domesticated, over time the condition changes. You see? So don't go and say, well, people, I know there's a lot of people, when you read on the internet, oh, there's a contradiction. There is no contradiction. For example, who's the first Muslim? They say, well, the Quran says Nabi Muhammad was the first Muslim, but otherwise it says Abraham was a Muslim, Isa is a Muslim. Yes, they all were. They were the first Muslims for their dhikr. Musa was the first Muslim for the dhikr of the Torah. Jesus was the first Muslim for the dhikr of the Bible. Nabi Muhammad was the first Muslim for the dhikr of the Quran. This is what it's meant. But people try to play this contradiction scheme. Okay? And so the Ummah is a single community of many countries, of diverse cultures, and different languages. Okay? And they have numerous nationalities and tribes that share the same kind of civilization and follow the one faith of Islam. The Ummah, as I said before, adheres to the Sharia. And they're all the same. But the thing here is that, let me get this. Must have run out. So. Oh, here it is. How do we achieve the unity? We should guard against fragmenting Islam. In the Quran it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا لَسْتَ مِنْهُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُمْ إِلَى اللَّهِ ثُمَّ يُنَبِّئُهُم بِمَا كَانُوا يَفْعَلُونَ صَدَقَ اللَّهُ الْعَظِيمُ. Those who divide their religion and become parties, thou hast no concern with any of them. Their affairs with Allah only. Then will He inform them what they did. So you can't say, I'm Shia, I'm Sunni. You're Muslim, but you're all Shia and Sunni. But the Shia of what? The Shia of Ahl al-Bayt, of Ali, wal Hassan, wal signed with Fatima and Turfe. So as fragmenting Islam is forbidden, then how can Sunnis and Shias maintain their own views without sacrificing their desire for unity? Some say their insistence on truth is a prerequisite for unity, and that they cannot and will not compromise the truth. Our intention to engage in effective dialogue must adhere to the following: atmosphere of mutual respect and trust, free expression of ideas and thoughts, advancing scholarly questioning and methodical decision-making, promoting open-mindedness and regard for different points of view, and deciding on an outcome after carefully considering alternatives. However, at the center of many dialogues are obstacles such as preconception and narrow-mindedness, opposition and antagonism, absence of constructive criticism, and disrespect for others. Well, that's okay. To achieve the unity, we must cooperate with each other and recognize the following. Diversity is the mechanism by which we can understand each other. Intellectual development and cross-fertilization of ideas can be the vehicle by which to better understand the perspectives of each other. Divergent issues and contemporary issues are to be approached collaboratively, and brotherhood and solidarity must be preserved. And the last slide is that, that's okay, the last slide. Can we create a future in which we live peacefully and in harmony with each other? We need to understand from where our own unresolved feelings of frustration and despair arise and resolve them. So in conclusion, taking the position as a Sunni in writing this book and reverting back to my hypothesis that I gave earlier, I can only conclude that Imam Ali is a rightful successor to Prophet Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Ali Imami, I'm a Sunni now. Ali Imami, wal Hassan Imami, wal Hussein Imami, wa Ali Sajjad, Zayn al-Abidin Imami, wa Muhammad Bakr Imami, wa Ja'far al-Sadiq Imami, wa Musa al-Kazim Imami, وعلي الرضا إمامي ومحمد الجواد إمامي وعلي الهادي إمامي وحسن العسكري إمامي وإمام محمد المهدي إمامي. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا, and hold fast by the rope of Allah altogether, be not divided among yourselves. صدق الله العلي العظيم والسلام عليكم. Is it stated in the Quran anywhere declaring Ali is Wali Allah? Well, it doesn't come out and say Ali, eventually, but we have the hadiths and we have the interpretations and we have what Prophet Muhammad is, traditions of what he said that says he is, but you won't find it pinpoint. That's why you have to have the hadiths with the Quran, because not everything comes in the Quran and needs to be explained. And so the Prophet Muhammad, with the hadiths, he explained it. You would find it there. Where is the verse in the Quran declaring that alcohol is forbidden? It says that khamr is forbidden. Right. Okay, but remember, that comes later in the Prophet's mission. Now, it doesn't, you may say, well, it's nasakh and mansukh, but you got to be careful because the jurisprudence doesn't change. That may still hold if you're going to go to a society where drinking and all that, and you try to be missionary work to try to get people to be Muslim, you have to be careful. Okay. what is Umar to change his mind after what he said at Ghadir Khum? Now remember, at Ghadir Khum, people get too hung on this Khalifa. You know, we're all Khalifa. You know what Khalifa is a steward, is a trustee. Your little children are Khalifas, and protecting the resources, we protect each other, okay? We are, our view from the Shia perspective is the imamate. The imamate is the high. The caliph comes secondary to the imamate. And if you look at Ghadir Khum, the Khalifa is mentioned 3 times in the whole speech. Okay, there was only 3 times. But Imam Ali, as a Mawla successor, so were mentioned numerous times in there. So, and then they say, well, they get more to this question. After the Ghadir Khum speech was done, supposedly people make fun that Umar supposed to came up to Ali, are you Mawla or Awla? I mean, you know, they make these derogatory statements, okay?
But what, Professor Turfe, what do you think changed his mind after congratulating Imam Ali and telling him, you are my Mawla, you are my guardian and leader? What made him...
I'll tell you what changed his mind. Not only the speech, no. When they became caliph, when Abu Bakr and Umar became caliph, for example, there was many difficult issues, like some of the Jews, Yahud, would come up and try to entrap, to make entrapment for Umar or Abu Bakr, to see if they can answer. Every time they would send to whom they would send to Imam Ali. You want your answer is there. Even Imam Ali protected. He never took a post under Abu Bakr and Umar Uthman, but he protected them. For example, Umar was going to go off and fight in the war, he's caliph. Imam Ali said, stop right there, don't go. Because if you get killed, we're still weak in the Islamic State. It would throw a monkey wrench into our system, so you have to stay here and don't go, stay here. So I think that Abu Bakr, remember, they're related, these people, but it becomes, I mean, you can look in this center, or you can look at other centers, or even Jewish centers, Christian centers, universities. People vie to be the leader on a board of trustees. They will do anything to undermine what is right. A number of people. And so they will start putting their pressure because they want to have what's power, the ego, the enemy of the ego. You know, so I think that, and then Abu Bakr also, by the way, also consulted many times with these caliphs. So I think in their hearts they knew, and as I quoted those 2 hadiths earlier, where Abu Bakr admits he was wrong, in Sahih Bukhari, and Umar is saying that, you know, if you don't consult with the other Sahaba and Baya, and that it's null and void. So I mean, I think that's what it is, and you know, they saw the result. But keep in mind, centuries had passed. A lot of the hadiths were lost. From the Umayyads, they didn't put the hadith, and the Abbasids came in, and then they destroyed some of those. They even made a mihna. You know, mihna is an inquisition during Ma'mun's time. Now, Ma'mun was probably one of the more intellectual caliphs, so to speak. Some think that he might even be Shia, you don't know. But he had a lust for power. Remember, he comes from the Persian mother, not like his brother Ali came from the Arab mother and he had him killed. But they do the mihna, and then of course, in doing the mihna, it took all the 6 collectors, all of them were during that time, and you know, they rub each other this way, and they endorse Ma'mun, and Ma'mun endorses them, and except for Ahmed Hanbal, they used to kick him and put him in prison and torture him. But aside from that, yeah, so getting back to, there are, I mean, the hadiths that I portrayed showed Umar respecting Imam Ali, and I quoted some of them, and more of them will go throughout the text. So as you read the book, you will find more of them. So what changed his mind? Well, he saw the truth. And you know, but who said he never did approve of of Imam Ali. I mean, in the sense that Imam Ali was superior to him and everything. People begin to write hadiths or manipulate them or translate them differently or take out words and put out words like it said, Ani Madinatu Ilm Ali Babuha. So they want to confuse people. But that's what was done. I mean, that's what Muawiyah wanted to do. He succeeded, and that's what Ma'mun and them wanted to do, and they succeeded. And then the Ottoman Turks, even more ruthless, succeeded more. So anyway, it says, in your opinion, what is the following verse about what Sunnis believe is about? I can't see this. Somebody come up and read this for me. Yeah, I can't read the writing. You can talk.
In your opinion, what is the following verse about and what Sunnis believe it is about? يا رسول بلغ ما أنزل إليك من ربك وإن لم تفعل.
الغدير. The Ghadir.
The Ghadir?
Yes.
Well, we already went into that, didn't we? Yeah.
But what does the Sunni say about it?
Well, the Sunnis, some say the place
The mind.
that his speech took place at another place. Some say, it's scholars of the Sunnis, that it didn't even happen at Ghadir Khum. There are some scholars and Sunnis that said it took place somewhere else, and this is not what was said. But in my book, I have the entire speech in English and the Sunni resources that authenticated this, about that many of them. So it's in there. Okay. So the Sunni scholars that I allude to in the book, they authenticate the Ghadir Khum. Okay, here's a good one. It says, you've outlined how Sunnis and Shias can coexist. How practical is this for the average Sunni and Shia who are filled with misconceptions of each other? Excellent. When I made this presentation back in Detroit, in Michigan, I had Sunni scholars in attendance. I had one who is the chairman of Islamic Studies at University of Detroit, Mercy. I had another Sunni scholar who is among the top neurosurgeons in the whole country. And I had another one who was a PhD in engineering teaching at University of Michigan. And I had a number of other ones. Some of them took a box of books. And they came by and they said, we didn't know this. We really did not know this. You opened up our eyes. And I says, well, thank you very much. And they took books and they want to share them with their constituents. But they didn't know that. They didn't know all of these hadiths and things. So they actually didn't know it. Yeah, like Imam Sadiq had a lot of Sunni students. How come in Najd and Qum there is no Sunni students going to Shia schools? You have to answer that.
Well, some of them they.
Yeah.
But after they come and study, they become Shia, unfortunately.
So, you know, when you mention the word Shia, in the Quran, it says that Ibrahim is Shia of Noah. Moses becomes Shia of Abraham. Jesus becomes Shia of Moses, because Jesus in the Bible, I did not come to change the law, but to fulfill the law. So there's nothing new in the Holy Bible for Christians. It's just reinforcing what Moses gave. And then if you look at all three, the Torah, the Injil, and the Quran, they all have the law of Moses, the Ten Commandments. Okay? But in any event, thank you for the questions, but I hope, you know, I made some impact in your understanding, and I think what you need to do is to read the book, study it, and equip yourself, because, as I said, it's different than what Shia scholars in general would write about. Now, don't get me wrong, Wahid Khorasani wrote a great book about this, but the Shia perspective, but he takes some Sunni things. But he comes with proof, 1 proof, 2, 15, 20 proofs, and he goes into it. But then, Sunni reading that would say, well, you see, they may not accept it. So this, it's implied that I took a Sunni point of view. I don't say I'm a Sunni in the book, but it implies it because I go through the research. And I found it very interesting. When I went through this, like I said, I was trying to tone it down, not to bring more ammunition into it, because I want to make unity between Sunni. And you know why there's not unity? There's a question. One of the reasons, in this book I have Unity in Islam, I think you might have read it. The reason is the difference between Jahl Basit and Jahl Murakkab. For example, Jahl Basit is the simple ignorance where one says, please give me ilm, give me knowledge so I can learn and understand. I want to understand, please teach me. That's the simple Jahl Basit. The Murakkab is different. It's the compound, complex, closed-minded ignorance, where one says he knows, but he doesn't know. He is ignorant, that he is ignorant of his ignorance. And this is where I find between the Sunnis and Shias the fragmentation. A lot take the hadiths and stuff and knowledge off the streets. They haven't gone through a cursory, neither Shias or Sunnis have gone through a cursory study of Al-Kafi or Kulaini or Majlisi, or on the other hand, Kutub al-Sitta for the other people. They haven't. Because if they do, they will find that there are many hadiths that favor the Imamate of Ahl al-Bayt. And then there are other hadiths we know why they're wrong. And as I said, I did find there was a number between Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim that were in contradiction with each other. Yes?
Professor Turfe, I wanted to thank you for the very informative presentation. You put it in a very elegant way, and this is a subject that is, I think, the world, not the Muslim world, of Christian Jews, they are thirsty to know the difference between Shia and Sunni and how they can unite. But this is the main subject that is very important, very crucial to have today unity. And I just wanted to bring some smile on your face on the fact that you said when this Sahih Muslim and Sahih Bukhari, they said every quotation, every comma is correct. This is culture. In Iranian culture, whatever they say this is correct. No doubt to it.
Well, if you're going to thank me, you have to thank my mentor, Sayyid Mustafa Qazwini. He actually critiqued my book. He critiqued my book. And you have to read this to me. Yeah, he critiqued my book, went through it, and he gave the go-ahead. So, so my purpose in this book is to have scholars like Sayyid Mustafa and Wahid Khurasani and then Allah Tabar Umrah, and he's like 94, 95 now. But to take the book, and by the way, your brother Sayyid Hassan Qazwini sent 5 books with his wife when she went to Iran. One for Khurasani, for Milan, and there's Ma'ayatullah. I want these to take this book and tear it down and rebuild it and come back and say, Tallal is on the right track. Let's further embellish, enhance what he's already written, and let's make it more operative and more functional with our Sunni brethren, to sit down with them, to educate them in their own books. To educate them, and that's it. Yeah. Yeah, and there are a lot of verses in the Quran which also, I mean, in the interest of time, I can't go through all this question. But I can't go through all the verses. A number of verses that are attributed to Imam Ali by himself. There are a number of verses that are attributed to, the Ahl al-Bayt. I mean, even one of my theories, I may be off base now, you have to correct me. One of my theories is Ahl al-Bayt is even broader in scope than what you think it is. I don't think it's just Nabi Muhammad, Imam Ali, Hassan, Hussein, Fatima. Maybe, perhaps, Noah, Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, are all within the fold of Ahl al-Bayt, with Nabi Muhammad as a leader of Ahl al-Bayt. And Asiya and Maryam, and all may be part and parcel of that Ahl al-Bayt under the leadership of Nabi Muhammad. Because Nabi Muhammad in Isra al-Miraj now encompasses and takes in and inculcates all of what was before him. So naturally they would also, I would think, be from his Ahl al-Bayt, unless I'm mistaken. But it's a theory. And even on, as I said before, on Fatima. See?
Referring to the family of the prophets and the messengers.
And even Ibrahim and all are family of the Prophet. Okay? And one thing is, I'm deviated away. When I talk about Fatih bin Asad, it's good to, maybe I give a talk on it, but it's good to follow, read what she did. Remember, in the burial of Fatih bin Asad, the Nabi Muhammad, what he did in her burial, he did not do for Khadijah. And, you know, she raised him. I mean, if you go through and you see what this woman had done, and she was the first to go to Medina too, but if you research and you read about her, you come and say, well, Khadijah's first, maybe they were both, or maybe it's just a minute or an hour separating them. But it's unbelievable because when he took his mace off his shirt and put it on her, and I mean, maybe I would say she is the mother of believers, Fatima bint Asad, I mean, because the stepmother in short, and to the Prophet, he called her mother. And then, of course, you had the other sons as well, Imam Ali and Ja'far. Their favorite was Ja'far, anyway. But it's interesting to read into that. I know the problem we have, Sayyid, is we don't spend enough time in writing about the women in Islam. Oh yes, they talk about Sid Zainab, but they don't give her just due. Look at the Shias. They don't give her just due, even though they write a lot about her. You know, my theory is that you have like a triangle. You have Imam Hussein for the Thawra revolution, revolt, Sid Zainab for the rapprochement, to address Ibn Ziyad and Yazid, and Imam Zain al-Abidin is the reawakening, and in the middle is Islam. So the three of them together, you can't talk about Imam Hussein singularly. You can't. If it weren't for Sid Zainab, who would have known about him? There was no, TVs or radios or that. She carried it. She was the catalyst that moved it forward. Otherwise, Imam Hussein would have just died in the Karbala, the sands of Karbala. She's the one that took it forward. She saved her nephew. When Ibn Ziyad and from Yazid, Zain al-Abidin, she saved them. And one thing, when you want to say, well, during that time, why didn't Yazid or Ibn Ziyad kill Imam Ali Zain al-Abidin? Well, they killed the baby, Ali al-Asghar. Why didn't they kill him? Which shows you that they are the imams from the divine, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected them and protected that lineage. I mean, you start thinking about that, because why would you leave one alive? I mean, he was right there, even if he were sick. They don't care if he was sick. The enemies, why? Why didn't they kill him? Well, of course, Sid Zainab was the catalyst. So in this book, I outline the patience, the sabr of 14, but I include 15. These are the 14 infallibles, I include Sid Zainab in 15. I'm not saying she's ma'asuma, infallible, but she gives every indication that she might be. And I do the 15 for the energy talk of Islam. And I do them for the unity in Islam. And you will get a précis, a discussion on each one of them and how they fit within those things. And then also the book gets into, for example, the concept of imam. Okay, imam could be a person, it could be a thing, it could be a place. Now we know the books of Allah are all imams. Of course, they call the Quran Hadi as well, but it's also imam. And people, we know people could be, a scholar can be an imam, Sayyid's an imam, you're the head of your household an imam, and then you have an imam, which is the pure imams. And you have the evil imams, like Fir'aun. Then you have imam as a destination. Sirat al-Mustaqim is an imam. Sirat, you might put read Sirat al-Mustaqim is an imam. It's a guide. It leads. You want to get onto that Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path. Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. So you want to get on that straight path. So there's other facets I didn't touch upon in the book, but it all builds in and gives more substance to the imamate. Okay.
Allah bless you.
I have a simple question. The statement.
I can't do it. I have hearing aids and I'm deaf 50% of each one.
I want to make a statement if you're wrong. And the question, like the alcohol is forbidden. It's okay.
It's forbidden, yes.
I just want to make a statement. The way we stated it earlier, that الخمر والميسر رجس والعمل بالشرطة فاجتنبوه.
Right.
We can't really convince anybody of this. We're really fluid with many people. I think there are two verses in the Quran. You have to link them together
Right.
to prove that alcohol is forbidden. في سورة البقرة يسألونك عن الخمر والميسر قل فيهما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس وإثمهما أكبر من نفعهم.
Right.
نعم الإثم الشعراء القدماء في عهد الرسول هو الخمر نفسه. نرجع على سورة الأعراف في درس الليل. سورة الأعراف إنما حرم ربي الفواحش ما ظهر وما بطن والإثم والبغي.
Right.
So إثم محرم.
Right.
والإثم هو الخمر.
Right.
This is a proof. I just want to make a statement.
Yeah, thank you. And in fact, that's what I said. I said that in the first one that you shouldn't go into prayer and root prayer when you're under the influence of alcohol or khamr. And it doesn't mean alcohol, it can mean, all it means intoxicant. It can be hashish, okay? Because most of the people at that time, a lot of the ones, were even companions of the Prophet, did engage in khamr. So in order to get him in his fold, he had to be patient with them. But then as they became Muslims and that, then the AA comes down. Now alcohol is forbidden, you know. Okay. So that's why I say condition changed. They became into the fold. And that's why I said if you go off to the pygmy society and you're trying to get them to be Muslims, you're not going to succeed if you tell them you can't drink alcohol. You can't. No. But you get them into the fold, and then over time, they will change condition. So it's condition that changes in Islam, not the jurisprudence. Allah sends a verse down, it's it. You can't say he's wrong. I mean,
Thank you.
okay. Yes. Please, when I sign books, I'm going to sign it because I had a problem with my hand. I will sign them, okay?
Yeah.
I can't.
Let me thank Professor Tallal Turfe for his beautiful and engaging presentation tonight. We really gained, you know, and we profited by coming here. I guess this is our treat on the Halloween night, so the kids they receive candies, and this is our good candy, the book that we're going to receive. I read the book a year ago, actually. Professor Turfe was gracious enough to send me the book before he sent it to print, and I really enjoyed it. And I told him, this is very, very informative. Every Shia, male or female, should have a copy of this book in their homes, and also they have to provide a copy for those that they love among the Sunni community. If you have Sunni brothers and sisters that you cherish and you love, you really must give them a copy of this book. Because this book was written with a spirit of open-mindedness, not spirit of prejudice. He considered, as he mentioned rightfully, in the beginning, he considered himself to be a Sunni in the beginning, looking at this issue, the issue of Imamah, from both perspectives, the Shias and the Sunnis, and he gave us the evidence why Imam Ali should be the rightful caliph to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We thank him, Professor Turfe, alhamdulillah, when he retired, he did not waste his time. He was working in the auto industry, making money for the dunya, but now he's making money for the akhirah, inshallah. By writing books, he wrote a book about Abrahamic tradition, bringing the Abrahamic tradition, Judaism, Christianity and Islam together. We had a very successful book signing here with the interfaith community of this area. And now, alhamdulillah, he's writing this book on Shia Sunni understanding. He is a very intellectual scholar, prolific writer, very fascinating analyst, and alhamdulillah, he's very capturing and captivating presenter and speaker. No, astaghfirullah. Al-Fadl goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to Allah, to his wife, who's always Hajj and Amat, always with him, but tonight she's not with him because she's in Michigan.
It's dedicated to her.
And he's not just a good writer, but he raised good family, very good family. I know his children very well. I know them personally, and I'm proud to be their friend. His father came from Lebanon 8 years ago. 1919, which is how many years? It makes, I'm not good at math, It's almost 100 years, yeah. In 4 years it's going to be 100 years.
I'm 75.
He's 75, so his father came. His Shi'ism is not just through family inheritance. Yes, his father, Hajj Ali, may Allah bless his soul, he passed him Shi'ism. But then he became real Shia through research, as you saw. Through deep research into the Islamic history, into the Hadith. He spent a great period of time researching to write this book. A great period of time researching and working very hard to find these facts. May Allah bless you, may Allah protect you. Inshallah, we enjoy your presence for so many years to come, so you can benefit the Muslim community, the Shia community, the interfaith community. And I really urge you, my friends, when you get the book, he will sign the book, so if you can line up to get your copy, try to, if you have a Sunni friend, give them this copy, because at the end, he advocates unity. He's one of the pioneers of Shia Sunni unity in this country. I always listen to him, I always monitor him, and I'm proud of the spirit that he carries. And one of his goals in this life is to bring the Shia and the Sunni together, to work together and to help each other. May Allah bless you, and please say loud salawat for him and his family. So let's begin with the sisters, ladies first. They come to get their copy, and then inshallah the brothers will come. Again, I invite you to recite Surah Al-Fatiha for the soul of Marhuma, the mother of Hajj Mansour al-Zubaydi. Al-Fatiha ma'as salawat.